A Church Slavonic Primer by Alexander Brooks. Lesson 8. Яко подобает тебе всякая слава, честь и поклонение Отцу и Сыну и Святому Духу, ныне и присно и во веки веков. Today's phrase is the first in a series of priestly exclamations that we'll be covering. This one first appears before the first antiphon. This phrase is made up of two parts, and conveniently, one of them has some new concepts, while the other has some repetition. There are many phrases throughout the liturgy that have repetitions or near repetitions, especially the priest's exclamations. With consideration for the inflection in Church Slavonic, we have already seen that sometimes the same word exactly coincides in different situations, while at other times it does not because of prepositions or other grammatical considerations. As a reminder, when comparing the text of the liturgy in Church Slavonic and English, always keep in mind that a text that is the same in two places in English will not always be the same in Church Slavonic. This can be frustrating but helpful, because if you can understand why a certain word is different in one or another situation, then it means that you are understanding the grammar better. The whole second half of this phrase, for example, is exactly the same as part of the phrase we already had in Lesson 4. Отцу и Сыну и Святому Духу, ныне и присно и во веки веков. This phrase, if you haven't already noticed, is also in many other places in the services, and it usually has little or no variation in grammar in Church Slavonic. In the first part of today's phrase, we're introduced to a new verb form. As a quick review, here are the three different verbs that we've seen so far. All of them have been in the same grammatical form, although one of them has also been in one other form. Pomiloi in the imperative mood, благослови in the imperative mood, podai in the imperative mood, благословенно as a passive past tense participle. In today's phrase, we have the first instance of a verb in the present simple tense, подобает, which is translated above as are due. The common translation of "For unto thee are due all glory, honor, and worship" covers the sense well, but a literal translation, which would also retain the same syntax and verb tense, would be "For befit thee all glory, honor, and worship." Translating like this in a literal way, especially as regards syntax, may help you to understand particularities of grammar and why something is expressed in a certain way in Church Slavonic. This will become more apparent when we get into complex sentences with more difficult grammar. As I said, the verb in today's phrase is in the present tense. That is, it is expressing an action taking place right now. It is in the third person singular, which is the he, she, or it form, and is in the imperfect aspect. You should know what a personal singular form of a verb is, but you may not know what imperfective aspect means. Though aspect is quite complex, a simple way to explain it for now is that it refers to the type of action of the verb. There are two forms of most Church Slavonic verbs, the imperfective and the perfective, and the difference is often in a prefix or some other morphological change. The imperfective aspect in today's verb is similar to the present and present continuous forms in English. The imperfective aspect often has this sense of continuation, while the perfective is often a finished action. If you recall, I mentioned in Lesson 2 that there are 630 forms of adjectives. Now there is also a huge amount of verb forms, but again we will learn them as we see them in context. There are also standard endings for many verbs. As we've seen in other places, these endings, in conjugation with other elements of the verb, contain valuable information about the word. They show person, number, tense, and aspect. Most importantly for us at present is to see that the t ending, t followed by a hard sign, is one of the two variants for the third person singular present tense. We can learn the remaining words in this phrase by their literal translation, though I will make a few comments. Yako here means for or because. In this word we're introduced to a new letter, ya. You may notice that this letter looks like an E followed by an A, and if you pronounce these two letters together quickly, you will probably see how they end up sounding like ya. This letter currently has the exact same sound as a letter we've seen earlier. The difference is that today's ya is usually used only at the beginning of the words, while the other ya is used elsewhere, and both of them are rendered in modern Russian font as ya. Tibye we've seen before, so you should recognize it as the in the dative case. Another comment to make here about our verb, podobает, is that this verb requires the dative case. For instance, the parallel in English would be that we say, it befits him, and not it befits he. Всякое is all. This is our first instance of an adjective in the feminine. Whereas in the masculine we saw the endings y and e. In the feminine we have aya. The reason why this adjective is in the feminine is that it is modifying the following word slava, meaning glory, which is a feminine noun. An a or ya ending is often a sign of the feminine noun, and this is convenient because we have a similarity between the adjective and the noun. Chest is honor, and it is a feminine noun. Notice that it has a soft sign ending. I should say, however, that not all nouns with a soft sign ending are feminine. At the same time, there are less masculine nouns ending in a soft sign. Poklonение is worship or reverence, which comes from the word for bowing or bending. Your homework will be to look at the priest's exclamations in the liturgy and notice how they are similar and how they are different, paying close attention to the endings of the words. In order to make this task easier, I've included the text of all these exclamations in this lesson's accompanying PDF file on my site. You can make a list of the words from the various exclamations that are the same, which would generally imply that they are in the same grammatical form. As usual, you can find that transcript and other listening materials at my site, russianmanner.com.